Yeah. Mike West just did a blog post on a vision of students today revisited, in which he goes back and he looks at the video that he did that was it was a big caused a big stir, right, where you've got the students holding up their notebooks saying, I spend 2.5 hours on Facebook, I buy textbooks that cost $150 I never read, and so forth. And in this blog post, he makes it's a cry akin to the Edupunk cry, which is, how long will this happen? How long do we go on with this? When do we say enough? We don't need to do this. And the comment stream was very interesting because someone essentially asked the question, okay, what's the first step? What do we do now? We've heard the cry. Edupunk didn't come up in the discourse, but it could have. Somebody could say, okay, so now we got a term. What do we do now? And Mike Wesch said something really, really interesting. He said, I think we need to pursue a strategy of non-cooperation, like Gandhi. And I thought about that, and I thought, now that's interesting, because what he's advocating is non-cooperation with what you're given to achieve a higher level of cooperation in terms of the teaching and learning environment. Yeah. And I thought, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And that's not a bad definition for Edupunk in a way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as long as the non-cooperation is in the service of a higher cooperation, right? Instead of just stopping it. Because there's a certain energy in saying, hell no, I won't go. Okay, so you won't go.
But
Well,
well, let's face it. I mean, he's kind of capitalizing on the logic that they're going to not cooperate in order to bring the classes and him together. Well, right? There's a kind of space in there in which you're depending upon that notion of the rebel, that notion of kind of saying no, for a good reason. I agree with you entirely. For a higher cause, however we want to define higher and cause.
Right.
But, and so I don't think I would want to say, okay, take that and say fit it into Edupunk and say, yes, okay. Mike Wesch, you stole an idea, you're taking. I mean, what I think it points to is that, like we said earlier, that cultural moment is brewing, and it's going to have a lot of different names.
Well, and I'm
more interested in the moment.
Well, I understand that. I think Edupunk as a name has as much of a chance of dissipating the moment as it does of capturing the moment, and that's what worried me about the term when it came out. Now, is there another name? I think we could probably come up with one. I don't know. We can come up with one off the top of our heads. But that there is a moment, I not only deny it, I say we better pay attention. We have a moment. As Kathleen Blake Yancey said at the 4Cs conference in 2004, we have a moment. We won't have that moment forever. Right. So my investment in this is we have this moment. Let's make sure it doesn't become another, revolution in a box, or another stylistic choice, but it becomes a moment where we understand the power we have to decide something.
That's right.
That's important for me. And that's important that I want my students to know that too. Mm-hmm.
But that's exactly the logic the Glass Bees post that coined the term was out of. It's like, I'm tired. I am tired of hell. It's like, they come in, they announce this is the Web 2.0, and they, who the hell is they, right? I mean, there's that great line from Wild Bunch. It's like, but you people are working and doing this together, and to see this stuff commodified in such a unsavory way, and then sold back to institutions that just blindly consume it, is the kind of cycle through which that whole thing was driven. And that is what Michael Wesch is suggesting. I'm stepping out. That's what you have always suggested. And whether we call it or how we call it, I mean, I think there needs to be, and that's why I'm getting back to that notion of the political and the blogosphere. It seems different when Michael Wesch will blog about how he wants to, non-cooperate, or someone says, I'm tired of this Blackboard, than when you have an official release from the leadership saying, this is our stance. I mean, there's something sapped out of that. I mean, it's almost like, okay, if they were so if educoz was so disgusted with Blackboard over what they did, how come they have the biggest, seat at the table? How come everything's going on here? I mean, what is political action if not a step to say, okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with that. And that's what individuals can do. They can say, I'm done. Institutions, leaders can't.
You see, and that's where I disagree. To me, the leadership is not about saying, this is our official release. Here's the Kool-Aid we're drinking today. Drink this. Did you drink your Kool-Aid yet? If not, we'll drink it. We'll see that you drink it. We'll put in the NG tube that you want to have. All right. So to me, leadership is about, let's go on this journey. Let's go for a hike. I hear the woods are beautiful this time of year. Let's not lose this moment. There's something here to savor together. And the leader is the one who is able to get the community to realize the energy they have that they're not going to realize on their own. And that leader need not be the same person from this moment to this moment, but I think it's a responsibility of everybody in the community to be prepared to lead in that way. So maybe that's a point of contact.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm very always.
Well, we should probably wrap up. Do you guys want to add anything to the conversation? Closing statements, so to speak. Closing statements go to Gardner Campbell first. We'll let Jim Groom in.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to thank the League of Women Voters. And I'd like to thank you, Jerry, for being such a great moderator tonight. And I hope I didn't blink too much or sweat. I did have the Richard Nixon
Easy
issue.
on the time, guys.
Yeah, right, exactly. Closing statement, no, I don't want there ever to be a closing statement. That's my closing statement. I want the conversation to be as rich and interesting as possible, and I want out of that conversation some steps to emerge that will take us to a place where the conversation can stay rich and away from the place where the conversation withers. Because I think, it's what Yeats says, okay? What do we know but that we face one another in this place? And we need to remember that. That's what we have to hang on to.
Yeah. You're going to ask me to close after that. That's unseemly. Yeah, I mean, what do I say? I mean, I just like sitting here talking with Gardner about this stuff, and that's what I like. I mean, I like being in these conversations, and I agree with you entirely. If it goes stale, then it's not worth having. And whether or not, the term itself, the term, as it's been for many, is just a way for us to have this conversation. Congenial, thoughtful, but excited and passionate. And, if that's what a term does, whatever the term, it's important. And it's language is important. We both know that. And terming is important.
Okay, so if Edupunk is a prompt and not a rallying cry or a flag, I think it's a good prompt.
A prompt. You're demoting it to prompt. After Yeats, and I give you my heart, you demote it to prompt?
I thought it was a promotion. Nothing is more valuable.
So you're giving me that much?
Nothing is more valuable to a teacher than a good prompt. I mean, that's it. That's where the community that's where the conversation gets best. That prompt sets it in motion.
It's an all-encompassing philosophy of life. And if you don't drink it, you will suffer.
All right. Well, I'm thirsty. Let's find something to drink.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate
Thank you,
Jim
Jerry.
Groom and Gardner Campbell. And I'm Jerry Bain. That's it.